Doing a quick video on another little project that I've been working on, and it's based off of this hill climbing Unity tutorial. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the original author. This was a great example of doing kind of a hill climb Happy Wheels clone. Now, the code that he gives you doesn't have a lot of this stuff in it.
First, today I'm going to make for you this game that I'm playing right now. It's called Illig Racing, and it's a 2D racing game where you have
I would strongly suggest downloading this. I have a version, my version on GitHub, that's not a complete Unity project, but it does have some changes that I thought I would make a video out of. So the original example, when you run it, you will notice that the car is rigid and the head doesn't bobble around, and he actually uses torque on the wheels to get the car to move. Right now I'm hitting the arrow keys, and actually maybe that's the wrong one, but this is kind of an existing example. He also goes over how he built this terrain, which I think is pretty slick, and I wanted to learn how to do that. He has a car controller, and then the car's underneath with a couple of these other pieces, and here's this fuel canister. So that's all well and good. He has a small piece of terrain, as you can see here, and it was a pretty good example. The car follows the terrain and does kind of a little pickup with the gas cans, and also you could see that the gas can up in the upper right hand corner was slowly depleted of fuel, which I thought was kind of neat. So anyway, that is when you download his code, this is what you're going to get. But you can see the structure, and you can see how things are laid out and how things are relatively simple if you look over here. Okay, so the example that I got was I needed to have a bobblehead because that's the way Happy Wheels works, and I just really like that. So I'll run mine, and what I basically did is took the car apart and put it back together to give it a little bit more dynamics. I added this thruster in the back, and I'm actually adding force to the car body as well as the torque to the wheels. And as you can see, it's a little bit more playable. I copied the terrains and flipped them around, but what you can see here is it's a little bit more bouncy, and if you crash, do something like that, the car will try to correct itself. Also, if the car flips over, you will get a game restart. And there's the end, and then it starts all over again. So I added some little pieces of chrome, or what I call chrome, to this example. And his example is really cool. Okay, you see that right there? That's one of the bugs I was working on trying to get fixed. I have bumpers. We'll explain that now. The car has a lot more colliders on it, and that bug that you saw there was in the original example. And what I was trying to do was add bumpers, and I probably need to pull these out a little bit. to keep the thing from doing this strange lock or stall or whatever you want to call it. And you notice these bumpers are just game objects, but they have colliders and they have this physics material. So the folder layout in my project is a little bit different. I have some other added images, but this material, physics material, is what I'm basically using to get the car to bounce off of things when it hits the bumper. The other thing it will do, let's stop this again, is on the car you have this game object up here, which let's do this, the driver's head, and then you have this 3D object that basically has a collider as well, and it calls a script to reset the game. So the original author didn't have that, and I thought, add that. This code basically is almost identical to the code that's in the end of game. The other thing I did is with the and this was kind of tricky. I'm using a hinge joint. We have a rigid 2D body. We have a circle collider, and this was kind of the secret sauce on getting the head to bobble back and forth. And there's a couple examples online. A lot of them didn't make sense, and this is something I wanted to get working. And you have to be very careful with how you're setting this up to get the effect that I got. And I was almost to the point where I'm just going to write my own custom joint because these things get so complicated and they don't make sense to me. But if you take these settings or you take my project and copy it over on top of the existing project, if you download it, then you can go through this video or obviously load some of the pieces up and try to put them back together. But this was kind of complicated in here to get it tuned to bobble back and forth. But anyway, you can crash the guy. See, now it bounces, it does a little bit better, but see, now he's on his head, and that starts the coroutine to reload the scene. And that's all I was trying to do with that. I was also looking at trying to get particle system for some blood, just like the Happy Wheels versions have, but you can see he's much more dynamic. The other thing I was working on with the thrust is I don't think the thrust is coming out at the angle. See how the car kind of rolls over? And I don't know enough about physics, and I don't know enough about rigid body in Unity to basically come up with a thrust vector that's pushing this car out the back. This particle effects isn't doing any of that, but it's literally graphically showing what I would want with the physics. And if you press a long time on this, well, it flips over, and then we have this problem again. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, that's something that you guys can take a look at. The add fuel, that you'll see some of these scripts are the original scripts. I added a couple of more with start position, goal. The camera follow came with it. I have some other scripts that I have added that I'm going to try to get integrated into the project. One is spawning baddies that fall down and come after you and things like that while you're trying to get your goals. It's simple stuff. Now this is the car controller script, and it's been modified, quite a bit from the original author's work, which is, I'm using the arrow keys, and I also have this thrust and things like that. So the torque tire, for the front and back tires, I added back in. That seems to help out the dynamics a little bit. And basically the way this works is if you press down the arrow key, you'll see the thrust is incrementing by 10. And we need to, via fixed update, bring that back down and clip it so the thing doesn't fly off the planet. This is how you turn on the effects. So if our thrust is greater than 0, and this is how I'm applying the force to the car, rigid body. And I don't think this is the right way to do it. It seems to work, but I think in here we need to calculate the vector out the back of the rigid body, car rigid body, to build a force vector. I don't know how to do that. Here was some old code that I was experimenting with, and it's several different phases in here. And as you can see, you have relative force and you have force. But that's the whole idea, is to get the thrust added to the rigid body out the back of the car, not necessarily in the middle of the car and or at a a constant right up and down angle. So I showed you the head script. That's pretty straightforward. And then we had the the goal script, almost identical, where we reload the scene. So these are just some things that I added to actually make the thing a little bit more enjoyable to play. You got to have the bobblehead, and he has the original author. I didn't see any videos where he went into detail on how to generate that, which or code that, which I can understand. He's probably trying to get money. I don't blame him. But anyway, I thought I'd make this video. I worked on this 4th of July, and I got a couple of days off from work, and this kind of gives me a little bit of enjoyment and a platform to add other things. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can get it working. Please be patient. Appreciate it if you wouldn't ding me if it doesn't work right out of the box. My project up on GitHub will not work right out of the box, simply because it's an add-on to the original author's work, and I didn't want to upload everything because Unity creates a lot of extra files and things like that. So I think this is a good start. It's a good layout. It should help people out who want to play around with this and get kind of ahead with regards to having their own little hill climb demo or Happy Wheels. Anyway, happy 4th of July for 2019. Thanks for watching. If you're subscribed to my channel, I don't really plan on making any money off of this channel. I'm just posting examples of things that I work on. I realize that there's other projects that I have that I'm following along with that I haven't necessarily stopped working on. I just haven't figured some of the advanced things out, like the text-to-speech and speech-to-text chatbot and things like that. But again, I just do this as a hobby. I don't do it full-time. I have a full-time software development job, and that takes a lot of my time and a lot of my brain resources to figure out what I have to do there to make a living. But anyway, Hope you enjoyed it. Pass it on to your friends. Make sure you look at the original author's video and give him a thumbs up. It was really helpful to me, and I'm really grateful to him to post his code. See y'all later.